You never want to find yourself out on the water fishing without the essentials. So it's best to always pack a Columbia PFG Solar Stream Elite hoodie to protect against the sun. I mean, it provides great protection and it's really breathable so you don't get hot. That's a win-win. Columbia PFG has a lot of great gear. So before you head out on the water, head over to Columbia.com/PFG to shop their performance fishing gear.
When you buy Kroger brand products, you feel like you're winning. That's because they offer proven quality at lower than low prices. In fact, we guarantee that you and your family will love how Kroger brand products taste, or you get your money back. So next time you're shopping for the family, look for delicious Kroger brand products, because they'll make you all feel like you're winning. Shop now, in-store, or online. Bakers, fresh for everyone.
It's time to get inside the Giants Huddle.
Let's go, let's go, let's go!
On Giants.com.
I like it, I like it.
And the Giants mobile app.
Boom, give me some juice.
Part of the Giants Podcast Network.
Let's roll!
Welcome to another edition of the Giants Huddle Podcast, brought to you by Citizens, the official bank of the New York Football Giants. Hi, everybody. My name is John Schmeelk. Thank you so much for being with us. So, as we continue to get to know the Giants rookie class, we thought it would be useful and informative to go back, take all of the interviews we did during Big Blue Kickoff Live about the players the Giants drafted before they were drafted, and combine them with some new interviews Paul Dottino put together with people that covered the Giants prospects when they were in college after we selected them. So basically, it's pretty heavy insight into what these players were like at their respective colleges before the Giants drafted them. So we put all the interviews together regarding the Giants draft picks. We'll go through them in some order as we move ahead here. Again, these are interviews that were done before the draft and then some after the draft with Paul. The other ones are kind of peeled off from our Big Blue Kickoff Live shows as we take a closer look at the Giants draft picks and what they were like in college. So let's start here. We're going to go to the LSU sideline reporter, Gordy Rush, and we talked to him about Malik Nabers. Let's start with that guy that you thought should have been the Blitnikoff winner this year. And by the way, no shame in it. There were a lot of really good wide receivers in college football this year. And that's Malik Nabers, a name that has been connected to the New York Giants a ton with the 6th overall pick. I'm going to get right to the off-the-field stuff first here, Gordy, because, and I want to be clear, I have not heard this about Malik Nabers, but it's a question that I'm going to have just because of the position. And the Giants have had some experience with LSU wide receivers and Odell Beckham Jr. Is Malik Nabers a quote-unquote diva wide receiver, or is he more of your blue-collar type that, frankly, we've seen more of enter the league over the last couple of years?
No, he's a blue-collar kid. No, he's a blue-collar kid from the part of the state that Nabers is from. Not knocking Odell. Odell was from Isidore Newman High School in uptown New Orleans, where the Mannings went, and a little bit different atmosphere. And Odell, even at LSU, Odell kind of personality evolved after he left LSU, but not Nabers. Nabers he's a blue collar kid. He works hard. Had a phenomenal pro day. Came in with a very talented receiver class with Keyshawn Boutte, who was with the Patriots last year, and really the last 2 years I think has really evolved nicely, and just had a phenomenal season this year. I think when Boutte left last year, and they were able to move Nabers around, and they were able to put him in the slot and get it in some matchup situations. He played multiple spots this year. He really did excel.
Yeah, so you kind of touched on what my first question was going to be about Malik, in that this past season especially, he found success, no matter where he lined up on the field, as X receiver, in the slot, wherever. But where do you think, at the next level, where do you think he will find the most success? What wide receiver spot?
Well, I think it depends what you have, and specifically, with what's on the Giants roster if he winds up with the Giants. But let me take a step back and let's bring Brian Thomas Jr. into the conversation, because he's a pure X receiver, and he's got first round grades as well. Was a basketball player in high school from the Baton Rouge area. Saw him playing, just a big kid, another 4.3 40 guy, got hops, and when you had him on the field, you have to give safety help, and so in that case, it enabled Nabers to do a lot of things. And a lot of times they just run Thomas, hold the safety, and let Nabers go to work. And then there were other times because Jane Daniels was so talented running the football, that people finally said, "The heck with it. We're going to bring people up and try to stop this." And you play Neighbors man to man, he'll run by you, and he did that time. After
slot
time.
fades
So
again and again, Gordy. A lot of slot fades, man. Whew.
No, there's no doubt, and so he can do a lot of things. I think. I think it's what do you want him to do package wise, and he can go out and play X. He can play wide and run all of those routes. I think he works really well in the middle of the football field, kind of the way. There's some comps to Jefferson in the terms of the way that he gets off jams. He's elusive, beating man coverage, and he's so good after the catch with the football. I mean, real strong bottom half. Chase was a guy that so good catching afterwards. Strong legs.
All right, yeah, absolutely, just fantastic. And I love Malik Neighbors, by the way. He's my number 2 wide receiver, a hair below Marvin Harrison Jr. So this is me trying to poke holes is the wrong word, but understanding what some of the potential weaknesses are. The 2 things that I saw on tape was maybe a little bit too much of a body catcher from time to time, and then maybe some of the nuances of route running. So I guess my question would be, A, do you think that's correct? And B, how much room do you think he still has to improve? How raw is he, and how much of a finished product do you think Neighbors is?
I think he'll continue to get better. I mean, he got a lot of balls with that. I'm not as everybody gets better with route running when they get to the league. You got to go back 2 years with this offense. I mean, they were with the transfer quarterback, first-time coordinator. It took Jaden. Jaden made a lot of progression. I'm sure we may talk about Jaden at some point. But as he got comfortable, and he worked with those 2 guys in particular this past off season, and they were able to get their timing, there were some things that that they were really, really successful with. Obviously, the go balls, and you saw Jaden was so much more accurate and did a better job with stretching defenses. What I love about Neighbors is he understands how to get off the line of scrimmage. He understands how to beat man coverage, and then once he catches the ball, it's hard to bring him down.
Yep.
And I mean, that's an art. So I hear you a little bit catching the ball with his body, if we're going to get into that. But is he a first-round talent? And he's a blue-collar kid. He works hard. And here's the other thing I'll tell you: go get 10 film clips of this kid blocking. Right when other kids are when other kids are catching the ball, or when Daniels takes off. You could put a highlight reel together of him blocking downfield.
I like that. That's
the
good.
20-yard runs came to 50 to 80. You go back and watch Jaden Daniels' highlight film when they get to the NFL draft, and watch those receivers blocking downfield. And Neighbors was one of the better ones.
You actually just took what I was going to ask my next question. How is he as a run blocker? So instead, a lot of mock drafts that had the Giants taking a wide receiver in the first round at 6 overall, somewhat split between Malik Neighbors and Rome Odunze. Malik Neighbors probably the best at creating separation of any wide receiver in this draft. Rome Odunze, one of his best qualities is his ability to catch the contested balls. So how is Malik Neighbors in that category, in the contested passes?
Yeah, it was fantastic this year. I mean, both of them. I mean, they put up, again, historic numbers. And, I mean, this is an offense that comes a couple of years after, 2019 with Burrow, Chase Jefferson, Terrence Marshall, and all of those guys. Of course, what was different, 19 actually had a defense. This year, this team didn't have a defense, so they were playing Nintendo numbers at sometimes. But I think he's fantastic catching contested balls. He plays bigger. He plays more physical, I think, than probably when you look at him on the scale.
That's Gordy Rush on Malik Neighbors. Great stuff there. Now let's head over to the Giants' second-round pick, Tyler Nubin. We had a chance to talk to Minnesota Golden Gophers radio analyst Darryl Thompson about him.
Now we are joined by Darryl Thompson, radio analyst for the Minnesota Gophers. He's a Minnesota alum and a former Green Bay Packers running back, and he has watched a lot of Tyler Nubin play over the last several years. And Darryl, the first thing that everybody says about him, and they talked about him at the Combine, is clearly being one of the top 3 safeties in the draft, depending upon, which flavor of ice cream you wanted, is that his ability to ball hawk with the 13 interceptions, a school record, in 55 appearances, just stuck out like a sore thumb. What is it about his ability to cause turnovers?
Well, I think that for him, it's come down to a homework thing. He's not like incredibly fast or anything like that, but he's long. He's 6'1", almost 200 pounds, so he's big. He's got the size that you want to have in a safety, but his film work, I think, probably rubbed off from Antoine Winfield Jr. to be able to see and learn from him, and then he just continued to take it to the next level, which is, reading the offense, knowing the tendencies of the players and the quarterbacks, be able to play that chess game in the secondary that you're always hoping that your free safety and strong safety can play.
It's interesting you mentioned Antoine Winfield, because when I talked to Tyler at the Combine, he mentioned Winfield as a guy who set the standard, and he seemed to take a lot of pride in trying to live up to those kinds of requirements, thinking that, that's what we all have to be. Seems like a guy who is very self-driven.
I think he's self-driven, and I think there's also a tremendous benefit to having a mentor like Antoine Winfield that's like, I'm going to actually show you what to do. And then you see it working with Antoine Winfield, and you see it working for him in the NFL. And Antoine actually, not obviously, he got it from his father. Antoine Winfield is, looking at film with his dad. So that there's a big benefit to the history that, for Antoine Winfield, to Tyler Nubin, and he's continued to pass it down to the safeties that are there now. But his ability to recognize, the formations, the route running, and then to be able to jump routes. And you're right, he's a ball hawk, and that's exactly what you need in your secondary nowadays.
If I read the background stuff correctly, he came in, recruited as a corner, but then maybe because of some of the short space quickness, they decided to convert him to safety. But the characteristics that I kept hearing, smarts, instincts, toughness, all kinds of things that if you're off the charts on those things, you'll find a place in the league.
Well, he's a leader, too. He's one of those guys that's he's a vocal leader, he's a physical leader, and he's aggressive. So, I think you're right. He's definitely not going to play corner, not at the college or the pro level. But there's a lot of safeties that are playing in the NFL that start out as corner and they moved up to the inside because of their ability to track the ball or their ability to tackle.
He did mention at the Combine he was coming off meniscus surgery, didn't play in the bowl game, didn't go to the Senior Bowl. Did you get a sense from watching him that maybe some of his performance was hampered by the injury and perhaps he could have been even more impressive had he not had to fight through some things?
A little bit every once in a while, but you just know this, that everyone out there's got something going on. So there's not a player out there that doesn't have a sore shoulder or a sore knee or a sore neck or a sore back or any of those things. So, I think would he have played better? Probably might have played a little bit better, might have been more aggressive, especially coming downhill on some run plays every once in a while. But, he's a great player, and I look forward to following him with you guys this next season, along with all the other Gophers. You guys have a couple other Gophers on your squad.
Let me close out by asking about his ability to play both safety spots and some of his ability to roam around in the defense. How would you see his best fit as he jumps into the National Football League?
Quite honestly, I'd probably see him a little bit closer, so maybe playing that strong position to be up over, to be able to cover, tight ends, and I think that'd be the place for him to start versus, in the back, where you really got to, worry about people. And he does have speed's not really a strength, but I think he can, he has jump and he communicates, and I think he'll be a really good player for you guys.
You mentioned his leadership, and we talked about his smarts a little bit earlier. Picking up the playbook, you don't think it will be that much of an issue as a rookie? All rookies, they need that experience before they can move in. How quickly do you think he can give them some important reps as a first-year player?
I think it's going to take. It takes everyone a while. I don't know anyone who comes in, especially in that secondary. But I would think within the first month and a half of the season, once he gets a couple preseason games under his belt and some regular season when the tempo and the speed picks up. But there's a lot to learn in the beginning, and it comes at you fast. And you just have not seen the caliber of athlete and the speed that you're going to see combined with the amount of information that goes into everything that happens at the NFL level. But I feel like he can do it. It's just going to take him at least a month. But I'd say after that first 4 games, he'll be ready to be part of the rotation.
Oh, great stuff on safety. Tyler Nubin coming out of Minnesota, joining the New York Giants. And we thank Daryl Thompson, radio analyst and former Minnesota alum and a one-time Green Bay Packer running back, for his time. Thank you so much, Daryl.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You love turf. You're good at it. So you start a turf biz. Business grows, your savings grow. Become the most celebrated name in turf. Are you ready for all that life brings?
Great stuff from Daryl Thompson there. The Giants Huddle podcast is brought to you by Citizens, the official bank of the Giants. From game day to every day, Citizens is made ready for Giants fans with insights, guidance, and solutions. Learn more at citizensbank.com. All right, let's go to the Giants' third-round pick, Andrew Phillips, to talk about him. The voice of the Kentucky Wildcats, Tom Leach.
Now we are joined by Tom Leach, host of the Leach Report and the voice of the Wildcats, who's gotten a good look at Drew Phillips. You know, Tom, he came out a year early. I wonder how much more upside might there have been had he stayed at Kentucky.
I would just refer you to Carrington Valentine with the Packers, who had a great rookie season, and a lot of us here thought that way about him making the decision to go to the draft and thinking, well, he's been a solid player, and there looks like there's upside there, but wouldn't it be more beneficial to stay in college? And Stoops played defensive back in college and has had great success putting secondary guys into the NFL. And so it worked great for Carrington. So that's the only thing I can tell you is that a lot of us thought the same way about Carrington Valentine, and he showed he was more than ready. And so I think there's reason to be optimistic that it would go the same way for Drew.
Could you tell us maybe the most important improvements that you've seen in Drew since he was able to acquire more playing time by cracking the starting lineup?
Probably it would come under the heading of the trust that he had from the defensive coordinator, Brad White, who came from an NFL background. He was with the Colts when he came to Kentucky and started out as an outside linebacker coach and then has been the coordinator for several years and has put several guys into the league. And I know midway through last season at my weekly meetings with Brad, he was really getting very bullish on how Andrew was moving up in his eyes and gaining more of his trust. And by the midway point of the season, they were using him as a fifth DB a lot. And so they really valued him this past season as a guy with a lot of experience. And, I think you saw Kentucky, both starting corners got hurt in the Gator Bowl. Phillips and Maxwell Harrison, who will be the next one to come into the league probably next spring. And when both of those guys went out is when Clemson really started to make hay with its passing game. I know he's a guy that the Kentucky coaches loved his versatility. Kentucky had a guy named Mike Edwards who's won a couple of Super Bowl rings with Tampa Bay and with Kansas City. And Mike was a safety who would slide down and be their nickel utility guy covering a slot when they went to a 5 DB package. And Phillips was a guy that they put in a corner, fifth corner, and or a third quarterback as the fifth DB, and they had more trust in Drew, so they used him in the slot, and they play a lot of zone, and so there was more. They were putting more on that particular position, so they moved Drew there when they go to 5 DBs, and then put in a corner out on the outside who didn't have as much responsibility in the way that they were playing their defense. So he's a guy that got a lot of trust from the coaching staff, really towards the end of the previous season and all the way through last season.
Something else I saw in his Kentucky bio is that he was playing in special teams on kick coverage and had a number of tackles. So it seems to me that his mentality and his toughness can really show through there even before he gets on the field as a defensive back.
I'd say that's a safe bet. He's a quote-unquote football player. I mean, I think loves the game. Dad played at Kentucky. So it's a football family. Tough kid mentally and physically. So I look for him to do well.
Was he often used on a corner blitz, or was he able to help break up rushing plays?
I don't recall him being used a lot on corner blitzes, but he was good in run support. I mean, in the SEC, it's a physical league, and so everybody's throwing the ball around a lot these days, but still in the SEC, there's a commitment to playing physical. And so if you're going to be out there as a quarterback in this league, you're going to have to play the run. So He's not anybody they ever took off the field. So, I think they were very happy with how he played the run and the pass.
Final thought, did you ever get a chance in practice to watch him go up against Wan'Dale Robinson, who is now going to be his teammate with the Giants? Because I got a hunch they're going to be jawing against each other a little bit.
Yeah, I think they're good friends. So, yes, I would see some of those matchups in practice. Although, Wan'Dale's breakout season, Drew wasn't being counted on as heavily then, so he didn't get a great number of those opportunities in practice because of where he was on the depth chart at that time versus where Wan'Dale was. But that's definitely a friendship there that will be reignited.
Well, we're looking forward to watching Drew Phillips, cornerback out of Kentucky, as he enters his rookie season with the New York Giants. And we thank Tom Leach, host of the Leach Report and the voice of the Wildcats, for his time. Tom, again, appreciate it, and stay well.
Happy to help. Good luck to Drew.
Great stuff from Tom Leach. Now we go to the Giants' fourth-round pick, Theo Johnson, to talk about him, the voice of the Penn State Nittany Lions, Steve Jones.
All right, I want to go to Theo Johnson here, Steve. If you build a tight end in a lab, he kind of looks like Theo Johnson. He's 6'6", he's 260. He ran really well. His athletic testing was off the charts. Yet when I watch the tape, I just don't see it quite come all the way together.
Well, that's in part because Penn State has been running the last couple of years a two tight end system. So when you're spreading the ball out like that, I mean, with both tight ends out there at the same time, so they kind of work off of each other. Theo Johnson is really has become a terrific blocker, excellent hands, good route runner. Look at Brenton Strange, who was a second-round pick by the Jacksonville Jaguars. That's the prototype for the type of tight end that Penn State's putting into the league. And we're going to have the same conversation next year about Tyler Warren when we talk about it. But he is, with the size, the strength, everything that he has, he's going to be an excellent tight end in the league moving forward. I mean, he may not be the number one guy out of the gate, but eventually he'll be somebody's number one.
Yeah, and if he can block at all, just a little bit.
Can he, Steve?
You don't have to block that much at that position because they could do things with you. But that's good that he can block. I think, with his measurables and his size, people give a lot of, they pay attention to potential a lot, and the potential for him, I think, is very high.
Tight end is a testing position.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
what
for
it
sure.
is. That's what it is now.
Yeah, for sure.
Great stuff from Steve Jones talking about Theo Johnson. Now let's go to Tyrone Tracy Jr. out of Purdue, the Giants running back selected on day 3 of the draft. We had a chance to talk to Tom Dinehart from goldenblack.com about him.
And now we are joined by Tom Dinehart of blackandgold.com to talk about Tyrone Tracy, the running back out of Purdue, who the Giants were very excited about drafting the other day. I think, Tom, one of the things that is curious to so many people after 4 seasons at Iowa and then 2 seasons at Purdue, they're getting a running back who spent, 4.5 years as a wide receiver before the conversion with the Boilermakers. What was behind that conversion, and how do you feel he made the transition?
And, in high school at Decatur Central High School, he really was a running back, so he made the move to receiver going to college at Iowa, and never really got a lot of traction up in Iowa City. Transferred to Purdue for his last 2 years with a receiver his first year in West Lafayette under Jeff Brom in 2022, and was largely ineffective, I'll be honest with you. And then, of course, the new head coach comes in here, Ryan Walters, and that was the impetus to move Tyrone to running back, and boy, what a smart move that was. Tracy just really blossomed this last year, ran for almost 800 yards. He can still catch the football, too, and he really showed his ability as a special teams player as well when it make a kickoff for a touchdown. So he's a very versatile player all around.
Well, let's talk about his skill set for a minute. 76-inch plus wingspan, which if you looked at all the running backs in the combine, he had the longest one, or the widest one, if you will. He was one of 10 running backs who ran a sub 4.5 in the 40. So he certainly had a couple of extremely attractive physical traits. Are you surprised that he went where he did, or should those traits have driven him up the board a little more? Or is that simply because he didn't play a lot of running back in college that maybe he was overlooked some?
I think he went exactly where he was supposed to go. All projections going into this draft was he was going to be probably a day 3 pick. I saw some calls for him to be a 5th rounder, and sure enough, it turns out he was picked in the 5th round by the Giants. So, yeah, he's still really sort of a work in progress, if you will. Having played running back just 1 full year in college. Still has a lot of tread on his tire. Has to take on a lot of hits. And, so he's a guy I think his best football is in front of him. And I tell you what, you talked about the Combine. He went down to Indianapolis, and that's really where he turned heads, I think, with that 40-yard dash time he ran. That made everybody sit up and pay attention. He had a nice pro day here at West Lafayette a week or 2 later, and a lot of scouts here to watch Tyrone Tracy, and I think that sealed the deal for him being a draft choice. And like I said, run, catch the ball, block, return kicks. I think that versatility really added even more value to Tracy in the eyes of these NFL scouts.
Well, to further talk about his rushing stats last year, over almost 6.5 yards a carry, 3 100-yard games. What were his skills as a running back that impressed you the most? Because we all know if you play running back in the NFL, one of the things you have to do that doesn't show up in the stat line is be able to pick up the blitz.
Yeah. I think for the most part, what I could tell, not like I was watching film looking for blitz pickup all the time, but I never heard anybody complain about his inability to block or to pick up the blitz. You're not going to be out there if you can't pick up the blitz as a running back because the staff doesn't want their quarterback to get killed. So Tracy, I think, is a good enough blocker. He has that vision people always talk about in running back, the ability to hit the hole downhill and tough. You got to be tough, and I think Tracy more than proved himself to be a tough ball player as well. And I always talk about, I go back to his ability to catch the football. It's a guy who really doesn't have to come off the field. He can be a 3-4 down back for you. He can, again, carry the ball for you early on. He can also come out of the backfield and catch it for you, too, even split out wide. So I think that versatility and that variety of skills just brings more value to him.
Well, it sounds like there's a lot to like there. What will be his biggest adjustment as he makes it up here into the NFL and tries to earn some playing time? What is he going to have to either learn or polish up in your estimation?
I think just at the speed of the game, everything at that level is so much faster. Everybody's bigger, stronger, faster, quicker, tougher. Holes develop and close very quickly at that NFL level, too. So just, I think, adjust to the overall speed of the game, I think, it's going to be not just an adjustment for him, but for everybody who makes that leap. And the thing about Tyrone Tracy, too, is he's mature. Like I said, he was in college for 6 years. He got out of high school in 2018. So he's at least 23 years old at this point. So he's going to be able to, I think, handle some of the emotional things and some of the complexities of these NFL offenses, which should hopefully make his transition a little bit smoother at the next level here.
So suffice it to say, it sounds like it wouldn't surprise you if he gives them some very productive snaps, even as a rookie.
I think so. I'm not familiar with your running back situation there, but I got to think he's a guy that can help you off the bench, be a spot guy here, be a full-time special teams player, and get some spot snaps, I think, on the offense. I would think particularly on more third and long situations, Tyrone Tracy may be more valuable there because of his ability to run and catch.
Great stuff on Tyrone Tracy, running back out of Purdue as part of the Giants 2024 draft class. That's Tom Dienhart of blackandgold.com. Tom, thanks for your time. Enjoy your summer.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
You're ready for a change. Payday comes early with Citizens, so go to that retreat. New You moves to the country. Now you're raising goats and launching a lifestyle brand. Are you ready for all that life brings?
Great stuff there from Tom. Don't forget, folks, Giant fans love a winner. It's why they love Citizens. Named a 2022 Best Bank in the U.S. by The Banker as the official bank of the Giants and sponsor of the Huddle. Citizens is made ready for fans of Big Blue. Learn more at citizensbank.com. Let's wrap things up with Matt Stevens, radio analyst for UCLA. He had a chance to talk to us about linebacker Darius Muasau.
Darius Muasau, and I think I got that pretty close. Undersized linebacker, only ran 4.7 is the time that I saw for him at the Combine. So maybe in some statistical categories he might be a tad overmatched, but I think a guy on special teams at the very least should be able to carve out something of an NFL career, no?
Yep, Darius Muasau is how you pronounce it, by the way. That's all right. And he had a really productive career at Hawaii. And then he came to UCLA. And the first year at UCLA, he seemed a tad bit slow, to be honest with you. And then his senior year, he got faster. He got stronger. You really saw a lot of improvement. His instincts are off the charts. I mean, he can play really well in pass coverage. He knows how to time his blitzes, shoot gaps. He can make a tackle in the open field. He's going to play on special teams, yes. I do think he's going to find a role on defense, and then he's going to be a guy that all of a sudden, wow, he's in his 8th and 9th year as an NFL player. He's that smart of a guy. He understands everything you need out of a middle linebacker, and he makes sure everybody's lined up in the right position.
All right, we thank Gordy, Daryl, Tom, Steve, Tom, and Matt all for joining us on the Giants Huddle podcast. Real hope you guys learned a lot from those interviews. I know we did when we did them. We thank you for checking them out, and we thought it would be good to put them all into one to check those out right here on the Giants Huddle podcast, brought to you by Citizens, the official bank of the Giants. For Paul Dottino and everyone else that was featured in those interviews, I'm John Schmeelk. We'll see you next time, everybody.
Hey, guys. Back at the playground again, huh?
Yep. You know what this playground could use? A wine country.
Heck yeah, and some waves, so we could go surfing.
Oh, yeah. Love that.
A redwood forest would be cool.
I'm in.
Ski slopes.
Let's do it.
Can a girl go shopping?
Yeah, baby.
Wait. Did we just invent California?
Discover why California is the ultimate playground at visitcalifornia.com.
Tired of restless nights? At Leesa, we know good sleep is essential for mental, physical, and emotional health. From memory foam mattresses to hybrids that keep you cool all night long, Leesa's mattresses offer exceptional comfort and support with free delivery and 100 nights to try out your mattress in the comfort of your home. For a limited time, save up to $700 off select mattresses plus 2 free pillows. Go to leesa.com/iHeart for an additional $50 off mattresses and select goods. Exclusions apply. See leesa.com for more details.